This is a film study to focus on the step forward that Mike Green made in the Week 8 win over the Chicago Bears. Of course, a sack on the first possession, his first career sack, in fact, to force the Bears to settle for a field goal. And then on the second possession, he makes an underrated play on a QB boot concept that we haven't handled well at times in 2025. Even in this game, I'll show you some comparisons between Green getting and disrupting Williams' flow on the play action boot, and then Van Noy unable to do so. There's some extenuating circumstances there, and I'm also going to cover some situations where I think it's just too easy to exploit this Ravens defense, particularly on second and long. Got 7 plays queued up here for you guys, and we're going to obviously start where we should, and that's Mike Green's sack. It's another cross-chop move, which seems to be his patented move, if you will. No help from the running back, really, at this point in the game. And I want to make that point as we get to the final play that I'll show you, which is Kyle Hamilton's tremendously important play, in my opinion, on the Bears' third possession, where Caleb Williams throws it away. It's a grounding call, and they have to punt. They actually have to punt twice there. And I think Green's win early here on this first possession kind of influenced Chicago's pass pro calls or choices a little bit later on. I will give you the end zone angle. There's a lot going on here. I think the Ravens are basically playing, 3/2 to this side and then 4/2 to the downside. So they're really just trying to take away all possible routes. The running back is slipping out, not helping the left tackle at all. Green with the cross chop win that we've seen him use so many times just hasn't been able to get wins or organic wins out of it. It's a one-on-one situation. This is where he's got to win. This is where he's got to get victories, particularly against a left tackle like this guy. Wasn't declared the starter out of camp for the Bears. He's a good football player, in my opinion, but that's the type of tackle that right now Green should be able to take advantage of with this move or something else. Simpson and Van Noy, in addition, are 2 other players that are lined up on the opposite side, the opposite edge. It appears as if Van Noy is communicating something to Simpson pre-snap, so I'm not sure exactly what that is. It's a violent pick from Van Noy, number 1. Number 2, Roquan is dropping out here from our alignment, so we're really only bringing 3. And then it almost looks like a 3+1 where Simpson is a spy. In addition, Roquan is dropping out to help out underneath, and we see, again, Green, he's instinctive with this move. The chop, the swat with his right arm to clear, and then rip underneath with his left arm. I love the move, when it works, and in this case it did. Simpson is, in my opinion, just hanging out, trying to funnel perhaps Williams to that side with a topside rush by Green. So I think you've got a real integration of the pass rush and then a utilization of an athlete who knows where Williams could end up. I would say conceptually this is very similar to what the Detroit Lions did to Lamar Jackson when they came to Baltimore and won in Week 3. We'll move to the second possession, and this is going to be a play-action boot concept. We'll actually show 2 of these in a row, one where Green is involved, one where he is not. So the run action is going to the top side of our screen, the right side for the Bears, and then Williams is, of course, going to boot in the opposite direction. Green's got the athleticism to be able to redirect, reorient. I love this little move here. He jumps to the outside to let Caleb Williams know, no, I'm not going to let you escape there, and then closes the distance. In fact, he didn't go as far or as abruptly as I drew that line, but he's an athlete. He's quick enough and fast enough to be able to threaten Caleb Williams in a way that other guys just don't. In addition, this is Odunze trying to sneak out into the flats. He's disrupted. He's disrupted by, on the other side, it's Van Noy getting upfield. He takes the tackle into Odunze's path, and you can see disrupts him for a moment, and that causes Odunze to be a little bit later because of Green's pressure. The ball's got to be out. Caleb Williams trying to work it here to the tight end, and they're forced to go for it on a 3rd and 7. Give you the very next play. Green ineffective here in terms of the rush. Like I said, I think he's got to develop some type of bull rush or an inside move. We would love for that to happen in 2025. That could actually be wishful thinking. It might not occur till next season. So very next snap, like I said, and we're going to bring pressure in here and do the same exact thing that we did on the first possession. Basically, leave a QB spy to Williams' right-hand side. So I'm talking about Kyle Van Noy right here as one of the guys who's lined up initially on the line of scrimmage, along with Hamilton and Roquan. So really, we're in functionally our dime look here. Hamilton has moved to the dime linebacker position. In terms of Green, trying to get something going against the left tackle that's more so in the middle of his body, and for whatever reason, just not able to drive that guy back as much as we would like. Marlon was really physical with Odunze. I felt like early in the game, Odunze gave Wiggins tremendous problems, particularly in a couple of snaps where he's able to kind of get his body connected to Wiggins' body, which doesn't make sense the way it sounds. You want to be in tight coverage, but then he used Wiggins to kind of hedge or push off a little bit, if you will. He's just got a bigger frame, bigger body, stronger. Very similar to what Hopkins did to Wright a little bit later in the game, except, of course, Odunze didn't have his hand on the face mask. It ends up being an incompletion. This was a great moment for the Ravens to get a stop and only be down 6-0 after really the whole first period was controlled by the Bears. I'm going to digress a little bit away from Green with this next play. We're kind of rewinding, going back to the first possession. As you can see, it's a 2nd and 3. Van Noy is spot shadowed here in purple. This is basically reverse power, where the running back is going to counter step, the left guard's going to pull, and then the fullback, who's actually a tight end right here, is going to step with the off the midline, get out of Caleb Williams' way, basically. Essentially what occurs is the tight end motions across, and he ends up pinning down Van Noy. Van Noy just can't be there, in my opinion. He cannot be on the inside with an athlete like Caleb Williams getting to the outside. It's a 2nd and 3, so I get it. Van Noy's worried about the run away from him, so his orientation, or his visual focus, I should say, is to the top side of our screen. We look too slow here, but in my opinion, it's because Van Noy played it poorly on the front end. Now, Kyle is there to limit Williams to a gain of 2 yards, sets up a 3rd and 1, where it's one of those situations where Odunze is covered well by Wiggins, actually after a penalty, and then he's able to hedge or push off, if you want to call it or describe it like that. I don't really care that it's a push off. I think there's always going to be contact between guys, or there should be in a football game. Early in the game, Odunze was giving Wiggins problems. He definitely adjusted, and I thought, compensated well as the game progressed. Back on Mike Green a little bit here, but I'm going to talk about the look that the Ravens are in. This is the 3rd possession. We do get a stop here. I have a problem with the way that we're lining up sometimes, and basically, people talk about gaps all the time. His gap, your gap, my gap. You can't defend the gaps properly if you're not aligned to do so. And I don't think this is a Mike Green issue. He was once again communicating with Roquan. We're in our 5-1 nickel. So we've got, just to reiterate, an edge defender, 3 interior defensive linemen, another edge defender. Kyle Hamilton is the dime linebacker, and Roquan Smith. So yeah, we've created a 3-4 look, but we're going against a jumbo group. We're outmanned. Not only that, we end up being outnumbered because of the concept. They've got a 6th offensive lineman on the field here in 75. We're focusing on Mike Green in this video. I would like for him to be in this gap between 75 and 84. That doesn't look like where we have him assigned to be. And again, this is where I think it's annoying as hell to listen to people only talk about gaps. You've got to match formations. You've got to match numbers. If you don't do that, you cannot defend the gaps in the first place. It's a zone concept to the left-hand side of our screen, the right side for the defense. I don't pretend that the nose is doing a good job here at all. It's a great step by Jonah Jackson to help out with the center on the nose. Green gets kind of cut off by 84, Loveland, and so he's unable to close down and really get into this space here that Swift takes advantage of. You can see it's a huge win for the Bears. I'll give you the all-22 angle of it. I just think we're outmanned and too easily taken advantage of on 2nd down. They're in jumbo 13 personnel. There's 3 tight ends on the field. One of them is an offensive lineman. And we are in a 5-1 nickel. It doesn't make sense to me not to match numbers here. They've removed one passing threat from the field, and that is the 6th offensive lineman, hence the word jumbo. Yes, they do still have one wide receiver on the field, whether it's Odunze on a particular snap or more. Who cares? We've got to defend the formations better, and we can't do that if we're not in the right look. In addition, we stay in a 2-high safety structure against the 6th offensive lineman and 2 other tight ends. I don't really get it, but in any case, Green, in my opinion, is in conflict. Is he supposed to be responsible for this outside gap or the gap between the tight end and the 6th offensive lineman, the jumbo guy? I don't know. I really don't care. You've basically got to defend 3 things when you get this type of look. You've got to defend the direct flow run concept, which we didn't do. the boot by the quarterback, Williams, which could be Green's job, and maybe that's why he's supposed to be outside here. And in addition, you've got to defend some type of pass route release. Do we actually have to defend the pass route release from this offensive lineman? No. We have to defend it from this tight end. And I think we've got requisite numbers here to do so in terms of one of the safeties, and I think that's Marlowe in the corner, and Green. In my opinion, these second and long situations, they continue to give us issues. 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8. It started really in week 3 with the Lions, and every week we're seeing at least two or three examples of it. These last 2 plays, Green will actually be on the field, although this one he's not at the point of attack. He's on our left side of the screen. It's another jumbo 13 personnel group. And again, we're rewinding time here. We're back on the second possession. I think, there's a lot of things to say here. Do I think Ojabo plays this well? No, not at all. He's not declarative, in my opinion, but he's put in a no-win situation. Very similar to some stuff that has happened to our guys in coverage at times. So they get into an I formation with one of the tight ends. By the way, it's jumbo 13 one more time. So there's the jumbo offensive lineman. Loveland is perfectly lined up to create enough of a gap here such that Ojabo has to declare. So if Ojabo gets into this gap, then presumably Loveland would take him down, and now Kyle Hamilton would be responsible for the outside gap, which is, to me, what he has. In my opinion, we've got 2 guys lined up outside of the tight end. Perhaps an easy fix would be one of them lined up here. We're in an underfront. And so an underfront means a 5 technique, a shade 1, or perhaps a 2-eye, whatever you want to call it, a 3 to the backside, and then a wide 5, or in this case, a guy who's stacked on the tight end, to the strong side, which I think the Ravens have declared to their right, the left-hand side of our screen. You have a 9 technique outside of that jumbo offensive lineman. It's a reverse power. So the tight end, 81, is stepping off the midline, and then he's going to lead. He's going to go pick up Roquan on the backside. The backside guard, Thuney, is going to pull and then kick out Ojabo. And Teddy Buchanan basically runs himself into a closed window. Yes, he has that gap. Congratulations. You can look at this alignment and you can see that he has that gap. He's also running into a closed window. We used to talk about with our linebackers, whether they were, teenagers especially, not 10 and 11-year-olds, if you're going to rob a house, you're going to go into an open window. You're not going to try to go through a closed window and make a whole lot of noise. There is no window for him here at all. And really, Ojabo's giving us nothing, in my opinion. He's put in a no-win situation, however. And in this case, it ends up being a 15-yard gain. Again, I rewound time here to get to this one. It's Manangai, I think is how you say it. I don't like the way the Ravens are lined up. It continues to me to be something that teams can exploit, whether it's second down situations or just going with a jumbo set like they did here. A really nice job here by Mike Green. We're back to the third possession. We'll give you 2 consecutive plays or 2 plays in a 3-play sequence, I should say. It's a 1st and 10. And this is great, man. This is a wrong arm by Green getting underneath of a block. It's very weird or unusual by the Bears. They're motioning DJ Moore in, and they're running a counter scheme with a wide receiver. I didn't think that was effective at all. The read man happens to be Ojabo on our right side of the screen. And what happens for Green by stepping down so violently, which is with his key is the right tackle. So whether you're reading hip, whether you're reading feet, we're talking about whether we're reading his hip, his feet, whatever you're looking at, Green has perfectly read it and stepped down with the right tackle, closed that gap off, and what it allows to occur is it allows Roquan to gap exchange. So pre-snap, from a gap standpoint, however we're playing 98, if 98 has this gap and Roquan has that one, this is why these conversations are so annoying to me in the first place, or whether Roquan has this gap and 90, or the other way around, my apologies. The scheme is what matters. And so it's a counter scheme. Roquan identifies it. The wrong arm allows Roquan to gap exchange over the top. In addition, we've got the nickel Hamilton to the outside. Just a really nice job conceptually of out of our nickel defense, using the nickel defender, in this case Hamilton, to allow things to bounce outside. And then the gap exchange concept, works in our favor. It's a nice job by Green being willing to basically sacrifice himself. You end up making the play without making the tackle. Same play from the end zone angle. You could see that Moore's going to motion in and then run the counter scheme coming back down here to the bottom side of our screen. We've got Roquan and Hamilton on the same side to the field, which is a great setup. And I think that's one of the things that makes this work by dropping, not this play, but the concept of having Hamilton as the nickel. We end up with two spectacular and smart football players right next to each other. In any case, let's get back to what Green does. He's going to step down with the key and get underneath of the first puller. And then the second puller, the backside tackle, has to go all the way around to go get Hamilton. And what it does is it frees up Roquan. He's absolutely freed up. You can't block him because of the scheme and the way that we play it. You know, one of the things that possibly we could have done with Ojabo on that other reverse power situation, but Buchanan would have needed to stay more balanced and flat instead of coming downhill now. Remember I said he ran into a closed window so he could scrape over the top. Really nice example of using the nickel, and Mike Green, if you ask me, was the leadoff hitter there. Green's not involved in this directly, but what I will say is his win over the left tackle earlier in this game on the cross chop, I wonder if it influences the Bears to keep this tight end and to chip. Let's let it run a little bit here, and then I'll show you the scheme or the stunt that Hamilton and Roquan are running. So we're obviously in our dime look one more time, right? We got Van Noy and Simpson off the left side, so I really like that setup. One D tackle, it's Jones. Of course, if Matabike was playing, it'd be him. And then we've got Roquan and Hamilton kind of attached or thatched together. Tight end chips Green, feeds him to the left tackle. But what's, obviously the most interesting thing here is that Hamilton is going to pick Thuney, the left guard, so that Roquan can fold over the top. The running back is put in a 2-on-1 situation, no man's land for him. He can't win. And I talked about this in the reaction video. This is the play where I said, so many times this would happen with Queen or Simpson or others, and we just weren't able to redirect quick enough to get to the quarterback and actually sack him or at least threaten him like Hamilton does on this play. Because Hamilton is got great burst, awareness, and contact balance, he's able to get there. I don't think that Green, obviously, he didn't impact this play from a pass rush standpoint, right? I'm not trying to offer that. But what I am speculating about is because of his win earlier against the left tackle, and he had an impact. Keep in mind, we're only on the third possession here. I wonder if that influences the Bears' call in terms of their pass pro and how they're going to deal with us. I think Zach Orr's group played a much better brand of defense once again, right? Green was part of that equation. He played well out there. I wonder if he's better off the right side. It seems to me that the pass rush moves are a little more declarative, a little more instinctive perhaps, off the right side. I don't remember, to be honest with you, if that was the case in college. I know he had wins from either side. He definitely needs to develop a bull rush or an inside move, or at least try it more. And I think that would balance things out. He had a favorable matchup here against the Bears, against that left tackle, in my opinion. Braxton Jones won the starting job out of camp. He had started for Chicago, I think, the last 2 years at left tackle. They removed him. They replaced him with this guy. I think it's Benedet, who's a first-year starter but not a rookie. I think he missed all of last year as a UDFA rookie out of Canada. And Green got the win in a one-on-one. I'm not trying to minimize it, right? That's what he needs to do. He needs to win when he gets a one-on-one such that he can influence pass pro calls during the game. Let's do it this way. I'm not sure that blitz that we saw there wins as easily if he doesn't have an organic win early in the game such that the tight end has to help out with the left tackle. Guys like Ojabo, they're not getting those wins, right? This is a big step forward for Mike Green, but also I think for the Ravens defense. Yeah, it's only his first career sack. We don't want to jump the gun and say, we're going to get pressure now all the time. No, but he did get one on the quarterback boot play. He's athletic enough to get those things done. I think the Ravens defense needs to be more sound in matching numbers, number one. Number two, better at understanding run schemes at the inside linebacker position. You can see the difference between, Roquan and Buchanan. Obvious, huge gap there in terms of how they handled it. Buchanan, that's my gap. I'm going there now. Great, awesome. You just closed yourself off. Roquan was able to gap exchange it with Green. Now, Ojabo didn't necessarily wrong arm it either like Green did, which illustrates a gap between those guys, what they're capable of on the field, meaning Green is far superior to Ojabo, not just on the pass plays, but in the run game as well. I think I would like to see a little bit more of Mike Green with some inside half moves, a spin, a bull rush, or maybe even a speed to power where he's trying to use speed and then power, but a huge momentum swing for the Ravens. That sack on the first possession, and then the pressure on the QB boot of Williams on the second possession, leading to the incompletion where Marlon is matched up with Odunze. So I think Mike Green played a large role, even though technically I think he's only credited with one tackle. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you enjoyed it, if you think I omitted anything, there's 2 or 3 pass rush situations where he's not getting wins in the second half. I think that's pretty obvious. He only got 1 sack, so he didn't generate pressure a ton in the second half. We were able to get a win nonetheless. I appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at Mike Green and his first sack and the Ravens' first win in weeks, in fact, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.